Aye.
Aye. Item 1.5, approval of minutes, regular meeting of January 15th, 2026. I recommend, and the college recommends approval. Do we have a motion?
Here, actually, I move to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any? Student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees vote.
Aye.
Aye. Item 1.6, revision, adoption, ordering of agenda. It is recommended that we approve the order of the agenda, but we do have a couple of revisions, so let me read those in right now. On item 7.7, job descriptions, management leadership is revised to include correct position classification and edited job descriptions. Item 8.3, out-of-state travel is revised to include an additional travel request for early March 2026. And item 1.3, renewal of administrative contracts is revised to correct job titles and contract dates as applicable. So sorry we didn't get those in earlier, but with that, can we approve the agenda? Do we have a motion?
I'll move. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Did we get copies of? the
There,
changes?
it's on the document, but it happened within the, so it should be, it's already in the agenda. Yes. Okay, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees vote, please. Aye.
Aye.
I vote. Item 2, comments of individual groups, delegations limited to closed session items. Do we have any closed? We do not have any requests to speak on closed session items. So we will move on to item 3, closed session. 3.1, closed session notice pursuant to all applicable education codes, government codes, and recently enacted statutes. The Board of Trustees will meet in closed session to discuss and/or act on the following matters. 3.2, audit by the California State Auditor's Office. 3.3, conference with labor negotiator, California School Employees Association, CSCA. Item 3.4, conference with labor negotiator, California Teachers Association, CTA. 3.5, conference with labor negotiator, Communications Workers of America, CWA. 3.6, conference with legal counsel, potential litigation. 3.7, and there's 2 cases. Conference with real property negotiator. And there are a long list of assessors' parcel numbers. 3.8, public employee discipline, dismissal, release. And then we will reconvene to open session and report out. So with that, we will now adjourn to closed session. reconvene from closed session, and we do not have any items to report out of closed session, so we can move right on to item 4, public comments limited to agenda items. And we do have on 4.1 public comment, we do have a speaker that I'd like to invite to the podium, Veronica Perez. The floor is yours to speak on item number 11.4. Welcome.
Hello? Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Good evening, trustees, executive cabinet, and Dr. Schultz. Again, my name is Veronica Perez, and I am honored to join you all today in representation of our Mount San Jacinto's Classified School Employees Union, Chapter 767. Today, I would like to acknowledge the collective effort that led to the completion of 13 tentative agreements. Agreements that will meaningfully and positively transform our working relationship here at MSJC. This is a historic accomplishment. And with your support, it will help set a strong foundation for our future. Over the past 2 years, significant time and dedication have been invested in thoughtfully revising our classified bargaining agreement. While no agreement is perfect, these changes represent substantial progress and provide clear guidance for strengthening labor practices across our institution. It goes without saying that I am personally excited and sincerely grateful for the opportunity to collaborate with our MSJC administrators, whose partnership and commitment helped us reach this milestone. So on behalf of Chapter 767, I would like to extend our appreciation to VP Galindo, VP Moore, Dean Donhauser, Juno Fernandez, Jill Lamphere, Jenner Pickens, Stephanie Kaysen, Jeffrey George, Tara Pyle, and our labor relations representative, Gary Snyder, for your collaboration, professionalism, and willingness to thoughtfully engage in addressing and working through our concerns. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. And that was great news to everyone. We're going to move on now to item 5, reports. We begin as usual with board president and trustees, and we will start with trustee Calvin Smith. Trustee Smith.
Thank you, trustee Ashley. I had the pleasure to attend the ribbon cutting for both the Studio 215 and the new STEM building in Menifee. Both of these are great additions for the students in the community that will add so much value to MSJC as a whole. I also attended the annual conference in Sacramento with Claudia and Dr. Schultz as well. We also did visits with our legislatures, and while there, I can tell you that you were well represented by your student trustee. I was humbled just to follow her with her words. She's an incredible, absolutely incredible. She is. And we literally just returned from the ACCT convention in Washington, D.C. I was joined by Dr. Brown as well as Dr. Schultz. There was, of course, presentations from both the national delegation and the California League. And of course, we met with our legislative offices. My biggest takeaway was AI and CT. Obviously, budget was something they talked about there. But these were the things you was hearing in the office buildings, the hallways, and everywhere you went, that's what you hear. And as I listened, I realized we really have to start to process of embracing AI. It's going to become the bedrock of everything we do. It sounds scary. It's similar to when we ventured into space, took flight, you name it. It's all kind of the same. But what will come is a lot of new things that must be taught and trained. And the community college is going to be ground zero for all of this. And our legislatures truly agree that this is where the training and the teaching is going to come from. And if we don't embrace it, we're just going to become outdated. So it's just the wave that we're going to have to take. That's what I got.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Trustee Corona.
This last month, I attended the Paris Skill Center ribbon cutting. I had the pleasure of speaking there. I also went to the Paris Union High School District state, what's the state of the district event just this last week. And we have, I know Dr. Brown, you were there, Superintendent Roger Schultz, our chair, Tom Ashley was there, and among other members from MSJC. The MSJC STEM building, the ribbon cutting, that was nice. It's a beautiful building. It's a great addition to our college. And so it was just fabulous to see so many people there from throughout the area, from throughout the region. And although I didn't attend the Studio 215, I was pleased to see some of our members here. I know Calvin, you were there, Trustee Calvin, and were you there, Vicky, also? And I think Roger Schultz were there, and other members from the community. And that was really nice. It's going to be a very fabulous addition, not only to the college, but to the whole region. And although also I didn't go to the DC and Sacramento, Kevin, you were there, and you were also there as well, Trustee Claudia, right? So I've been there the last 2 years in DC and Sacramento. I wish I could go. I wasn't able to go. But the reason why I wasn't able to go, and I haven't told anybody, is so I just had a baby yesterday. Baby was born. Yeah. So she was, in fact, you have to wait 24 hours. So actually drop off the baby and the mother and my spouse, and straight from there came right over here. So
Wow.
in fact, my mother was asking me what's her name. I haven't even told her yet. I don't even think she's seen the baby. There's gonna be, so my name starts with a J. It's Hollister. So I think it's gonna be the way we don't know exactly how we're gonna pronounce it. She's probably gonna decide on her own, but it's Jalixa. So
Lisa.
like Halixa or Halisa or Alexa or Holly, because I used to be called Holly when I was, yeah. So I think it's Halixa for now. It's unique, but it's not as unique as you think. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations, Trustee Corona. Trustee Silva, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Recently, I think it was last week or week before, the Calamasa Chamber had their installation dinner where I attended. I had a great opportunity to sit with some colleagues from HCN Bank, and they were very congratulatory, of course, as the naming rights of the stadium, and I was very thankful for their wonderful disbursement of cash so that they could do that. Attended a beach volleyball event last week where College of the Desert, Mount San Antonio College, and La Sierra University were there. It was very entertaining, as beach volleyball has a tendency to be, with 3-set wins and stuff like that. February 25th is when basketball playoffs begin, so keep that in mind. The women's basketball team won their 8th straight conference title yesterday, even with a couple of games left in the season. Tells you how dominant their season has been so far. And also very happy to see the amount of students that were in the fall honor roll list. I'm sure there are many successful stories therein. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Silva. Trustee Carpenter.
Good evening, everyone. With Trustee Calvin, we attended the Studio 15 grand opening, what he indicated. And having that in the community in the region is going to be great for the college and our communities that we serve. The ribbon cutting, the really exciting STEM building is now open. Michael, there will be no other problems, I know, right? Okay, all right. It took a while, but it was very exciting days, and congratulations on your new addition to your family, Trustee Holster.
Thank you. I have a medium report. Well, first of all, I would just like to thank Dr. Schultz and Dr. Brown for going to the Paris Union High School District State of the District event. if you guys went to every state of the district event. For all the districts we served, you wouldn't have time to do a whole lot else. But it was awfully nice seeing you there, and I was glad I was able to show Roger around one of my schools that I work at all the time. So it was quite entertaining. Also, you've already heard about the grand opening of the Science and Math Building at Menifee, and I just wanted to say that was a lot of work. Clearly a lot of work went into putting that on, and I just wanted to thank all the people that worked so hard to get that event off the ground. It came off flawlessly, except for one thing. The sun decided on a very cloudy day just to come out and just burn my face off. But luckily, I was able to go to our diversity Easy Up and get a Hispanic Serving Institution baseball cap that I was able to wear. So thank goodness for an Hispanic Serving Institution, because my non-Hispanic skin was getting burned. And it was, and I got, but the event itself was great. Well attended by people from around the area. It was an impressive event. Now I'd like to go into something that's kind of more structural about the future of the college. I'd like to give a quick report on how the presidential search is going. We are having 3 major meetings for the presidential search committee, and many of the people in this room are on that committee. So I'm reporting to everyone else. We had our first one just this week. All 18 participants were there. Every single person was there. Everyone was there on time. Everyone stayed for the entire time of the event. Everyone was on camera, not just, turn on your mic, mute your mic. It was a few questions were asked, but mostly it was going through the process. And Dr. Pam Fisher did a good job of doing that. And I just would like to tell you that the steps, this was an opportunity to tell everyone what's going to happen next, which is we're going to get a list of candidates that we're going to have to evaluate. Then we come back for our formal meeting 2, where we start compiling our rankings, and then we go to a month later to a final very long day that will last possibly 12 hours, where we do some of our final selections before the candidates actually come to our district and do forums and see the district. I just want everyone to know that every single seat on the committee is filled. And we went over, hold on, this is the page before. The big agenda items were really that we went over our ground rules. We highlighted the importance of confidentiality over and over again and signed a confidentiality agreement. We did an overview of the schedule. We did EEO training as part of our first meeting. And then we went over the system of evaluating candidates' application materials, and also how we will gain access to the web portal for us to come across and look at applications. So just wanted everyone to know, no delays, full committee, and it went really well. So we're getting there, everyone, and it's looked so far so good. And that is that's the end of my report. So with that, we'll move to the student trustee. Claudia, floor is yours.
Thank you, Trustee Ashley. Good evening, everyone. I feel like it's been quite a month, so please bear with me in my report. There's a few things that I wanted to speak on. At the end of January, I had the privilege of attending the legislative conference in Sacramento alongside Dr. Schultz and Trustee Smith. And the experience was invaluable in learning how to bring the student perspective directly into policymaking conversations at the state level. I'm very grateful that I had the chance to attend, and I'm very grateful for both of their guidance throughout the weekend. Oh, before I forget, I also, congratulations, Trustee Corona, on your baby. Yes, and your prioritizing of this meeting. Congrats. There you go. And then on February 5th, I'm going back to my pre-written report. Then on February 5th, I was honored to attend and participate in the STEM building ribbon cutting ceremony and share remarks on behalf of our student body. It was genuinely exciting to witness this milestone and to see such strong engagement from both our students and community leaders. That building represents a significant investment in our students' futures, and I'm very proud to have been part of celebrating that commitment. I'm also excited to announce that I have finalized plans and secured funding through SGA, mostly for food, for my Tea with the Student Trustee event series. These will be happening on the last Wednesday of every month at 9 a.m. The first one is going to be at the San Jacinto campus on Wednesday, February 25th. I would love to invite anyone here to join me if they can. I'm hoping for this event to allow students to come and chat about anything on their mind regarding their experience at MSJC and share any of their feedback. As soon as I finish the flyer, I'll be sure to forward it to as many of your emails as I can solicit from Jackie. Yeah. But I hope some of you will be able to join me for that event. I also wanted to let you know that just an hour ago, SGA Executive Council passed a resolution in support of mandating anti-racism training and established clear reporting procedures for all California community colleges. This resolution will be submitted to SSCCC for advocacy at the state level and was inspired by the recent concerns brought up by students regarding racially driven comments and behavior in the classroom. I'm hoping that this resolution will help with establishing equity for students across the state. And finally, I feel the need to speak on a recent event that has been heavily weighing on me. In one of my first reports, I spoke on how I wanted to focus on how we can amplify the student voice at this level of decision-making. And as we come to the midway point of my term, I spent some time reflecting on what I've seen so far, and I would be remiss to not speak on the concerns I have on how normalized it has now become for other levels of leadership at this institution to make decisions on behalf of our student government in a top-down fashion and undermine our ability to exercise our rights as a representative governing body. As you may know by now, our previous SGA president, Alina Baca, was recently removed from her position. And although her reason for removal was due to a clause in a student-written and student-approved constitution, the student governance that should have had a voice in the conversation on how said constitution should have been interpreted for a student-elected position, we were merely informed after those conversations were had at a different level of leadership. My concern with this is that it sets a precedence for expecting students to allow themselves to be silenced when there are decisions being made that directly concern them. Furthermore, and perhaps the more troubling point, is the optics of this situation. While I acknowledge the constitutional basis cited for her removal, those outside of our governance circles, students who don't have in-depth knowledge of our internal policies, are only seeing the pattern of the removal of women leaders of color representing our student body. Regardless of intent, perception matters. I sincerely hope this does not discourage future qualified candidates from pursuing leadership positions within student government. In an effort to find a solution for this, I will be advocating to work with the rest of SGA to establish a judicial branch that can take on any future constitutional concerns and make those decisions at the student level. I raise this matter not to focus on decisions that have already been made, but to advocate for a more collaborative approach moving forward, one that genuinely centers student voice in student governance matters and recognize the broader implications of how we exercise institutional authority. One of my, actually, on that note, I apologize for the long report, but I do wish you all a safe President's Holiday weekend, President's Day holiday weekend, and a happy Lunar New Year for those who celebrate. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on now to item 5.3, Student Government Association. Report.
Perfect. Good evening, everybody. Hope all is well. My name is Ubaldo Puente. I am the newly appointed Student Government Association President. This week, we had an amazing campus-wide event called Club Crush on Temecula, Menifee, and San Jacinto campuses that went amazing. I attended all of these events, and I could tell you that the students are very happy about what we're doing. I look forward to learning from all of you while attending these meetings, and I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. 5.4, Academic Senate.
Aloha, everyone. We had our first Senate meeting on February 4th. We gathered topics and priorities for the spring semester. We'll be finalizing our spring goals, agenda, and timeline at our next meeting coming up on the 18th. We'll be able to share our book club and workshop schedule after that meeting. Two things that did come up. There is an inquiry about gaining international access to Canvas and college technology for employees and students traveling internationally. And this could be timely, especially for those students who may be impacted by current immigration practices as well. We have our Constitution Review Committee convening this semester as well. They'll be reevaluating changes needed to our Constitution and considering any restructuring that may be needed based on the 30% reduction to Senate budget, based on the new contract you all approved at last month's meeting. Additionally, we reviewed our AI faculty survey data, and the majority of faculty report up to 90% of their students are likely using AI, particularly in asynchronous classes. So Trustee Calvin, I definitely acknowledge that we need to embrace AI and understand its implications and our role in that. But we want to do it in a way where we can first make sure that we are protecting student learning, authentic learning. We don't want AI to replace the learning and skill development. We want to make sure we have authentic assessments in place. So we do need technology and tools from the college to support us in that role. And then we also need training on how we can maybe leverage AI in a way that we can foster creativity and innovation and development, right? So it has to be a partnership and a balance between protecting academic integrity and then cultivating further development. So we love more partnership and timely processes to ensure that happens. So Roger has some wonderful connections throughout the state. He was going to explore. Jeremy's referred us back to the technology committee, but we might need to kind of put some urgency on that so that we have technology in a timely manner. We had the all faculty day. At that time, our executive leadership brought in June Paulino, an attorney, to provide training on ICE presence on campus. We were notified that they're developing a campus safety plan and some protocols. So we've received some follow-up inquiries from faculty just to ensure that faculty voice can be part of that development of the campus safety plan and ensure that our safety committee is involved as well. And we'd like to see transparency with how the 154,000 Dreamer resource allocation that's in tonight's agenda might be utilized by the college to invest and provide direct resources to those students and see how that fits into that plan as well. And then finally, I attended the SGA meeting today. I actually was excited to learn from them. They have an agenda item that is a roundtable and fellowship, and it allows for more kind of informal community conversations. Really loved that. So I might take that back to the Senate agenda structure and build that in to make it more approachable. And that closes my report. I want to offer a happy Lunar New Year that's celebrated by APITA communities here in the US and communities across the globe. Mahalo.
Thank you. Classified Senate report. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Ashley. My report's got a bit of a safety twist to it. First of all, Safety Committee is working on revising our no smoking policy. It's been a while since we reviewed it. There's a lot of signs missing, so we're basically going to review the whole process and then bring it forward, obviously, to EC and the board for approval. Also looking at e-bikes on campus. I know it's been an issue. Campus Safety is working with the city of Menifee to try and get some collaboration on a policy and enforcement of it and try to impact that. Under risk management, Happy report, we've increased our Narcan locations to 26 across the district. So between all three campuses, there's substantial Narcans available. And the training is available online. So if anyone wants to take it, just go to the safety website and it'll link you to it. We also have 9 employees that are participating in the Temecula CERT training, emergency response team. And hopefully once they're done with that, they'll bring that back and then share that with the rest of the staff through my next topic, our building captain program, which our last training meeting, including a lot of new hires, was 50 participants. So we have 50 building captain teams throughout the district. So in case of evacuations, fires, earthquakes, anything like that, and they'll get training as far as their role. And it's a very good program as far as getting the staff involved with situations like that. And we get a very good response. I can only speak for Temecula personally because this is where I'm at. Everyone participates, everyone's getting involved, and everyone knows what to do. And I haven't heard anything different from the other campuses. So that's my report.
Thank you. 5.6, Superintendent, President, and Executive Cabinet.
I'll defer cabinet first.
All right, this past month, Moody's Ratings reviewed the college's credit rating, and we maintained an AA1, which is just one notch below that coveted AAA credit rating. And the rater pointed out in particular the district's very strong financial reserves, which are supported by growing enrollment and prudent fiscal management with conservative budget practices. And they also pointed out that that credit rating continues to be supported by a large and diverse growing tax base and a modest debt burden. So in any event, happy to report that we've maintained that high credit rating. Thank you.
So I'll have my full enrollment update next month, as I usually do. Just to give you a quick update where we are right now, as far as census hit for all of our full-term classes and our short-term classes that were early start. Late start classes are still enrolling, so there's always going to be some fluctuation from today's numbers. But at census, we were 0.1% higher in fill rate than we were a year ago at this time. Our enrollments have basically been flat, which is great. Today we're down 49 seats. So just seats, but those students are taking more units. And so our FTS are actually up about 100 FTS year over year. So that's great also. The other thing that we saw that was interesting that most groups were looking at, it was the graph last year of the fill rates as classes filled up became very jagged and rigid. That's because we were doing a lot of manual fraud sweeps. So we were going through and looking at enrollments in classes, sitting on wait lists, and we were dropping massive amounts of accounts. I'll say they weren't even students, right? This year, because we've had some different techniques in place, one of those is not allowing those accounts to sit on wait lists or to sit in classes. We actually, while it looked like we were behind for a while, it all leveled out in the end. And so we saw a much less jagged drop rate. It was a very smooth curve that saw the increase. So we're doing a much better job fighting the fraud, keeping them out of the system, bogging it down, and our enrollments have not suffered. We are still getting students through. So you'll get my full report next month as usual.
Good evening. I would just like to welcome the new appointed SGA president. I look forward to working with you. Claudia and I meet on a regular basis along with our Dean of Student Life and as also Dr. Brown. So we look forward to working with you for the rest of the term. Also, it's my pleasure to share with the Board of Trustees that our MSJC beach volleyball team has been selected as the California Community College Athletic Association Scholar Team recipient for the 24-25 academic year. So they're going to be recognized, their collective academic achievement as an entire team, and that will be acknowledged at a luncheon on April 1st. So we're really excited to have them. We're hoping to bring them here to the Board of Trustees meeting soon to be able to be recognized by you all. And then lastly, I wanted to thank Dr. Brown for allowing some of our classified staff to participate in the immigration workshop that was with the all faculty meeting last week. Several of our teams volunteered as frontline staff to come and learn more because they wanted to be ready and poised to be able to provide services as needed or requested. And it was extremely informative. We are hoping to plan to bring back that same presentation to a larger classified professional group so that we all can be ready if anything were to occur. And that concludes my report.
And I just have one quick thing to celebrate. We've just recently had an update from our Phi Theta Kappa faculty advisor, Herb Alarcon. I see Michelle Vogel-Trout is in the house from last year, a faculty lead from last time. You heard a report from her toward the end of last year on the great things that those students were doing. In the fall, we actually recruited or inducted 614 new members to PTK, which is an increase from the previous year. So we've got continuity in that program. We've got students doing really excellent service-oriented projects. And we have achieved 5-star status once again. So we are still on that track, doing great things with those students.
Thank you. I just want to echo CSEA chapter president Perez for her comments about our negotiation sessions. It was really productive and everybody contributed very well. We just want to really focus on getting our hardworking classified professionals paid. So hopefully we wrap up their 610 negotiation process and you all approve the tentative agreements later on in today's agenda so that can happen. I will be bringing some information forward in the next couple of months as it comes to our health and welfare benefit fair that will be occurring. So I will be bringing more specific information, including some ideas that we're currently talking about in the committee in terms of getting more participation, letting that be more open to our employees for more active involvement in that. And just that recruitments are currently underway for all those faculty positions that you all approved back in, I believe, August or September when those came forward. So thanks to the Academic Senate President for working with us and getting all of those faculty participants on the committees over to us so we could start scheduling those meetings. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Cabinet. Certainly this time of year, we're mid-semester and all is going well. Certainly we referenced the trip to DC and I thought I was the one that had the dedication for being here, getting home after 1 o'clock, but Trustee Corona, congratulations. I think you must be more sleep deprived than I am today. So way to go. Thank you for your dedication. Speaking of the trip to Washington, D.C. and the National Legislative Summit. Immediately prior to Super Bowl, I wanted to let Dr. Oberg, our Academic Senate President, know I met with the Chancellor up north, and I've got 3 faculty contacts that we were able to squeeze in. I got there a little bit late, and then he had to go off to go watch some football game, he said. So anyway, that was a great event. And again, I think I want to thank Dr. Brown and Trustee Smith for enduring the cold. It was amazingly cold, but I think we're continuing to carry the flag of MSJC. And I think the doors are going to be opening for us for more funding. We were certainly promoting already referenced the grand opening of the IE Now Studio 215. And the reason why we do events like that, it draws attention. And we've had a number of cities, and in fact, Trustee Sylvan next week, they will be shooting a video at the Pass Biz Hub with the city of Beaumont. And I will tell you, I told a couple of legislators about our studio and the broadcast network, and they want to go on. So this is going to be an incredible tool to help us get the word out about our great programs, and as well as trying to be a conduit for important communications to the community. Just a few events to highlight. Coming up, our career ed people are putting on our employer appreciation event on the 19th of this month. And I will tell you, I had an interesting conversation with student trustee Claudia in Sacramento when she got a preview of what the recognition prize was for being on the President's Honor Roll, and she wanted to know why she hadn't gotten one yet. And we're going to acknowledge you tonight on the board agenda, but on February 26th, we will even let you have another one of those items. So good. That's the whole point, to honor you and promote the great work that we do. And then always look forward to this event in the spring. We do Pizza with the President. That's coming up later on March 9th. And then lastly, so that I and Dr. Brown do not have to go to these places like the Capitol on our own, trying to navigate hallways and legislative offices. Jordan Wright will be starting next week. He is our new Government and Community Relations Director, and I will be bringing him to introduce you, but he brings a wealth of experience and very well networked within Riverside County. He's worked on both federal congressional campaigns all the way through local campaigns. So he will help us carry the message in. I know, Claudia, we talked, you guys need to make an appointment right away with SGA and Ubaldo, same thing. We want to make sure you use him as a resource. So that concludes my report.
I have a quick question. Is this person taking what, Karen Marriott? That's
Correct. Karen Marriott's old position.
Thank you. Thank you, Cabinet and Superintendent Schultz. We are now on to agenda item 6.0, consent calendar. The Superintendent President recommends approval of the consent agenda as presented and amended. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to pull item 8.3 if possible.
8.3?
Yeah.
Okay, looking at, okay, that's an out-of-state travel. Yes, okay. I'm fine with that. Is there anything else?
May I pull 7.7?
And 8.3 and 7.7, we will consider those individually following the vote of the consent agenda. All right, any other discussion? Would the student trustee please vote?
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Okay, we will now consider 7.7 comes numerically before 8.3, so we'll start with that if you don't mind. That's just, that's job descriptions. 7.7, job descriptions, management leadership revised. There's a total of 10 management leadership descriptions attached, and it's recommended that we approve. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I just have a question.
Yes.
There were quite a few in extensive revisions. Some of it was to be consistent, I noted, but others, so I wondered what it was, what was the reason for it? Because there's some that were as old as 2014, some 2021. So what is the policy or compliance here?
It was actually a mixture of many different reasons. One, some of the student services job descriptions, based on the staffing structure that is being proposed as we move forward, we wanted to correct the level which the Director of Enrollment Services and Director of Financial Aid are currently compensated at. So we want to equalize that. That also gave us the opportunity to look at the job descriptions and really rewrite them to what they're actually doing. So we took the opportunity to revise those job descriptions. We also wanted to make sure that some of the positions over in IT were actually specifically speaking to what they're going to be doing, or that what they've actually been doing over the course of this time. Brandon can speak a little bit more to that as we get, if you have any further questions. We also wanted to make sure that we were talking about, as we've shifted areas of responsibility, we wanted to make sure that the job descriptions aligned with that, so that you'd see that with the Dean of Athletics and Student Life. Student Life is now under that dean. And so making sure that we're speaking to what they're actually overseeing and that oversight. We also wanted to make sure that we are correctly placing the jobs and the job descriptions within the right classification of administrators. So we noticed that some of them were originally placed as educational administrators, and those individuals those positions are no longer overseeing faculty or creating curriculum. So they would now be classified administrators. So you've seen some of those changes as well. So it was a mixture of a lot of different things. I will throw it over to Brandon or Rebecca if they wanted to add in any.
So the changes you're seeing in the IT, and I'm actually throwing Mike's group in there too, is really getting away from the idea of using academic titles in non-academic areas. So when you're talking about business services or IT, the idea of having a dean of IT, that's not a thing. So it makes more sense. What we're aligning with is the industry standards. And so when we start doing recruitments for these jobs, when people exit them, the jobs align with what the standard is in that industry. So again, you're not going to go out to a normal company and be like, I'm going to be a dean of IT. No, you're going to be a director of IT. You're going to be a senior director of IT. You might be the chief technology officer, chief information officer. So this is an effort to just realign those. So really, like Diana said, it's making corrections to the job descriptions because some of them were over 10 years old and IT has changed a little bit in 10 years. And the other part of the title changes were just to align with industry standards for those titles.
Thank you. That makes sense.
Are there any other questions on this item since we have it open? Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. We'll move on to the other item that was removed from the consent agenda, which is 8.3 out-of-state travel that was revised. And it's recommended that the board approves the out-of-state travel. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
All right, so the reason I pulled this item, I had let VP Teague know that I was interested in the Student Senate for California Community Colleges Federal Advocacy Academy in Washington, D.C. First of all, as a former student leader, absolutely love this. Wish I had this option, so jealous. So, but with that being said, like I kind of want a little bit more information on this. Who's going, what can we expect? And the reason I'm directing it kind of towards Claudia is because Claudia is on the list to go, and which is really cool. What I had asked VP Teague about was potentially like, you know, like maybe in an April report or something like that, that you could provide like what you learned, how that's going to be impactful for the future of student government, stuff like that. So it really comes from a positive place. I just want to assure you that.
No, yes, and I appreciate you bringing this up. So the SSCCC Federal Advocacy Academy is actually the first time that it's happening through this particular group. We usually go to a different conference through. The acronym is ASAC, but I don't know what that actually stands for. I apologize. However, this conference happens to be scheduled when legislative season is still in session. So we are actually going to have the opportunity to meet with some of our representatives as opposed to previous years when it was held just after the season had ended. And so this is kind of a historic moment for us because not only are we able to make these appointments at DC, which I actually just finished doing yesterday. Hopefully I hear back, but we'll also be able to take a group of students who have never traveled to Washington, D.C., some of them at least, and they've never had a chance to speak with representatives. So it's a really empowering conference. I attended one last year, and the only reason they asked me back is because I'm actually the delegate for SSCCC. And I have a feeling that's why my line item is also slightly lower because the Senate actually covers part of my fees. But yeah, I would be more than happy to agendize like a presentation of what we learned. I know that that's been in the talks of like post-conference things that we wanted to do. And hopefully we can make it happen. I know our advisors would love for us to speak on that.
Yes, Trustee Smith.
So my question is, so you are going to be the leader of this whole team?
Only in a student level.
Okay,
At a student level, our advisors.
Oh, I get that. I get that.
Any responsibility for.
So I will speak on her behalf that if she is the one leading the team, that we will be well represented and get our value. I am sure of that.
So a follow-up with that is, and that's awesome praise, Trustee Smith. Who's going? So who's at least this group here?
Okay, so the first two, there are advisors, and then the other 5 student leaders are actually senators from our different campuses. So I'll just say what Lamari Oliver is a senator of academics. So he represents academic interests within student government. Geneva Davison, she's also academics. And then Serenity Seiler is actually our student equity and cultural affairs senator at Menifee. And she's a really big advocate for Umoja. She's Umoja president. So we've chosen students that can represent different aspects of MSJC and different interests, just so that we can pool all of that together to create, an advocacy agenda that would really benefit this campus.
I have a question on the selection. So do they apply or?
Yes, there was an application service process in which we had to write, I think, 7 personal essays. Yes, but they were carefully selected. Usually we would prioritize students who have not gone to conferences before, and that is the usual practice. I think because the structure of SGA is so different this year compared to previous years, because we did do a big restructure. I was asked to go not only because I was a delegate, but also because I think they just needed someone who knew what was going to happen at these conferences. I think they
Navigate it.
Yes, a navigator. There you go. That's a perfect word. They just wanted someone who knew how to get in between the buildings, really. So it's
Know the difference between
exciting.
the Senate side and the House.
Exactly. There you go. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a really exciting opportunity. They had to go through a rigorous application process for this. Yeah.
I love this. I'm just jealous. I'd love to go as well.
Thank you.
That concludes my comments. Thank you. Questions?
With no further discussion, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We will now move all the way down to 10.1 in our open agenda. So scroll away. And 10.1 is a student health fee increase, only $1 per term increase for the 2026-27 student health fee. It is recommended that we approve this increase. Do we have a motion?
Chair Ashley, I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
Sure.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that Dr. Lisa McAllister, Director of Health Services, I believe, actually made a presentation on this to SGA. And the question that came up was, we were under the impression that, like our student representative fee, part of this will go to the state and part of it will stay for the school. And we learned that actually all of it goes to the school. And I think that they provide amazing services for students that I've used personally. So I think this isn't a bad thing to have.
My only comment would be that with so many students paying the fee but taking remote classes, I sure hope that when we get more and more students coming to the campuses, the fee doesn't have to increase more. I don't like seeing fee increases. I understand it's needed. So with that, that's my only comment.
I would like to hear from a member from the executive board. What are your thoughts? Why is it necessary?
So each year, the annual fees come to us as an option, an opportunity. And so we do work with that specific department. So we did work with Dean McAllister to determine if a fee was warranted and what services she might be providing beyond what we're providing already. And so we made sure to communicate with SGA so that we had their buy-in and support before we moved forward with this increase. But we do have 3 comprehensive locations. And so obviously there are additional needs per each site. Much of this work has been with mental health services as well. And we've seen an uptick in that given the state of affairs that everyone is dealing with in life circumstances. And so it was very much supported in the sense that it was a minimal amount. We know that $1 is still $1 out of somebody's pocket, but it was going to be able to provide additional services.
Well, and to go back in the history, there's a number of trustees that were on the board that remember the conversation that this was to be operated through its own revenue stream and independent grants, that it was not to take away from general fund and direct instruction. So it is really a self-sustaining operation. And so that is why they need to keep up pace with inflation, as well as touched on, the mental health needs are really, unfortunately, a reality of today's institutions, and we're proud that we have the capability to do so.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. Open agenda still on human resources, 11.1, classified appointments, 2 of them. It is recommended that the board approves the classified employee appointments. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees vote.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. 11.2 administrative appointments, 5 of them. It is recommended that the board approve administrative appointments. Do we have a motion?
Chair Ashley, I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
11.3, renewal of administrative contracts, revised. 26, administrative contract renewals. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the contract renewals. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, Chair Ashley.
Yes.
Question. So let me state this and begin this with, again, this comes from a positive place. So we're renewing contracts for wonderful admin staff, great directors, deans, and VPs. Our CEO is retiring soon, and yet we're renewing these contracts. Is there a reason why for the length of the contract? Just a question.
Pretty standard that we wanted to lock in and recognize the great work of the team that we have assembled, and just part of the routine process that we.
I will happily take a 5-year contract.
Yes, Brandon was requesting a 1-year contract, but
I
Yes,
hear 3.
that's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe these are routine.
Yeah,
So that's not unusual because of a retirement. It's very routine. And I would even add to that, even though it is routine, I look to the continuity it provides with all the changes we're about to face.
I agree.
Student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Your sentence continues. Sorry.
11.4, approval of, now here's a big one. Look at the number of articles. We've heard about this, Ms. Perez. Approval of the 11.4, approval of tentative agreements between MSJC and CSEA. And there is a whole list there. It's recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the listed tentative agreements between MSJC District and the California School Employees Association, CSEA. The district supports the tentative agreements presented and requests approval of the recommendation, which will be effective, and this is important, upon completion of the CSEA 610 process. So I'll have a comment to make in a moment. So do we have a motion?
Chair Ashley, I move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I guess I have a little bit, and it is somewhat, it's quite unusual that we're voting to ratify a contract that hasn't been fully approved by the CSEA.
Yeah, the
It's
membership.
our way of saying that, like, we really appreciate the hard work you guys have all done, and we don't want to delay anyone getting their increase in pay, assuming that this will pass right through, which we think it will. And we don't want to delay the new contract getting approved because you deserve it and you've worked hard for it. So with that, that's my comment. Do we have any others?
As a CSEA member, I'm proud to support this contract.
Student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on now to open agenda, Superintendent President. 12.1, Constituency Board Reporting Guidelines. To support effective, efficient, and orderly conduct of Board of Trustees meetings, the Board of Trustees is implementing a Constituency Leadership Board Reporting Guidelines. These guidelines provide clarity and consistency regarding the scope and delivery of constituency leadership reports during board meetings. So I'll just continue reading. Pursuant to the board's authority under California Education Code and the Brown Act, and the board's ability to establish reasonable rules of governing meeting procedures, the guidelines are intended to ensure reports remain aligned with the board's responsibilities while supporting transparent and meaningful communication. With that, do we have a motion?
Chair Ashley, I emphatically support this.
Wow.
Second.
I have a motion, emphatic motion and a second.
Emphatically.
Do we have any discussion on this?
I did have a question.
Yes.
What was the reasoning for bringing this up now?
Well, over the last few years, we have adjusted we've had an adjustment on the length of reports at the podium from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, which would allow for more people to get a word in before the night goes on. We've also made changes recently to decorum because we've seen meetings around the country lose control and become circus-like events. And now this particular event change is just a continuation of saying, hey, let's make sure that reports that go around the horn are concise. If there's something that is long in their report, that we're asking that it be presented to us so we could see it before the meeting. And it's just a way of making sure the meetings are efficient and not don't get overly lengthy and stay on track. That's
Wondering. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. Now we have item 13, comments of individuals, groups for items not on the agenda. There are none. My browser's about to restart, I was just told. So I might have to lean over to Dr. Schultz if my computer goes dead for about 5 seconds. But I'm on item 14.1 now, information agenda, 2026-27, governor's proposed budget. Vice President Beckham is going to, Business Services will provide the Board of Trustees an overview of the governor's proposed budget. It's just an information item. There's no vote on this. And by the time you're done, Vice President, I think my computer will be relaunched. So go right ahead. Thanks. If you know where to point.
Your level of confidence is pretty impressive.
It just called me. It's playing.
You see how that
Here we
works?
go.
Boom. But I got the clicker right. So that was good. All right. So
Congratulations.
50%. We're doing quite well.
Your name. Sure. Mine.
All right, so starting again. So this chart highlights the state's budget development process, and I've highlighted the subject of the presentation today, which is the release of the governor's proposed budget. Preceding that action, our agency requests, our chancellor's office, as an example, making requests to the governor's administration for items to include in that proposed budget plan. Following the release of the governor's budget are the sequence of analyses released by the Legislative Analyst's Office and all of the good work the legislature does that ultimately culminates into a budget act for the governor's consideration in June. And the last step of the process is implementation of that state budget at the beginning of the new fiscal year, which begins on July 1st. One aspect of the state's budgeting process that I really haven't amplified in past presentations, but I wanted to do so here, is the fact that the Budget Act actually operates on a 3-year budget window. And so that consists of the prior fiscal year 24-25, the current fiscal year 25-26, and the budget year 26-27. And the significance of this 3-year budget window is that these 3 fiscal years are intrinsically linked together as a consequence of the ending balance for one fiscal year becoming the beginning balance of the next fiscal year. And so in the course of the Budget Act development, it's really finalizing the prior year budget, which now we have actual revenues, actual expenses, and therefore the actual ending balance. That becomes the actual beginning balance for the current fiscal year. So that was unknown at the time that the state passed the Budget Act for the current fiscal year's budget. And now with that new information, this provides the administration opportunity to make mid-year changes or revisions and to update its projections of revenues and expenses, and then to project the ending balance which will become the beginning balance for the next fiscal year. And so I've color coded the ending and beginning balances for the fiscal years to show the connection of equality between those. And so as we'll see in the presentation tonight, the proposed budget plan is proposing changes not just for the next fiscal year, but also changes for the current fiscal year.
Mr. Beckham, really quick, the previous year, if I remember correctly, there were taxes that were due in October or something. The state had delayed them in order to get more revenue, didn't materialize. Is that still reflected in this timeline?
Absolutely.
Okay, so they still follow the timeline regardless.
Yeah, and that's one of the interesting things, of course, is that the budget development process is really designed around that tax collection cadence. And so when you have, and it's happened, in fact, in 2 cycles of late, but the most recent one being the fires in the LA area, where they delay tax deadlines for folks that are affected by natural disasters. That, of course, adds additional uncertainty because instead of knowing what actual receipts are, you're forced to use just a continued projected values, and that increases the variance that you might expect from reality. So absolutely. So in the governor's introduction to the budget plan, he notes that this is a budget with a benefit, a cost, and a challenge. He identifies the benefit as being a surge in state revenues that occurred in 2025, boosting the overall revenue outlook. He identifies a cost associated with changes at the federal level, especially with respect to tax legislation, tariffs, and immigration policy. And he issues a challenge for his own administration, which is to balance the budget for not just the next fiscal year, but also the fiscal year thereafter. So in a sense, kind of elongating or stretching the budget window from the traditional 3-year window to a 4-year window. We actually saw this happen in the last fiscal year as well, and it's really a device to help build confidence on the part of the legislature to support the budget plan for the next year by trying to point out that projections would indicate that the year thereafter will be fine if you accept the budget plan for the next year. So just to provide a little bit of an overview of the budget, so we talked about general fund revenues coming in higher than expected, and in fact, it came in $42 billion over the projections that were in place when the 2025 Budget Act was passed last June. Even with that huge influx of additional unexpected revenues, there's still a projected shortfall of about $3 billion. And the governor calls out constitutional funding requirements, a need for adequate discretionary budget reserves, and higher program costs. But the reality is it's the last bullet point, higher program costs, that's really driving that projected shortfall in the face of significant higher revenues. And it's largely in the area of health and human services. This is the first budget plan since I've been presenting to you under this governor's administration where there isn't significant new spending for new programs, but rather making investments in programs that had already been established and continuing to develop them. Another interesting change over the past several budget cycles is an upward revision in the economic forecast for near-term economic growth. So for the past couple of budget cycles, the economic forecast has been one of a growing but slowing economy. And so this is the first acknowledgement of economic growth above and beyond that slowing, growing economy. So while that's a near-term upgrade in economic growth in the budget projections, they still maintain that moderate, slowing, growing economy outlook in the out years. Inflation in the budget model was revised lower, but is expected to continue above the 2% target rate. And finally, and this is the one that kind of concerns me a little bit, there's no projected payroll growth through 2026. And that's significant because a large portion of the state's revenues is due to personal income tax, and not having a projected increase in that very important component of the state's revenue stream is concerning. However, they do expect to see marginal increases in the 2027 through 2030 fiscal years. The governor identifies risk to his budget model, and of course, the one that we see omnipresent is the stock market and asset price declines. And this is a consequence of the state's taxing policy being so dependent on the taxation of individuals at the higher income levels. And those folks tend to have extraordinary exposure to stock market and asset prices. And when those decline, the state isn't able to collect capital gains income taxes from those folks. And then the other part is the unpredictable federal policies and impact on economics in general that come from changes in tariffs and immigration policy. One of the federal policy changes called out explicitly is HR 1 of 2025, which results in an additional $1.4 billion in cost to the state as the federal government pulls back support for the state's health and human services programs. Nearly $300 million in additional cost to the CalFresh program due to federal support changes. And those are in addition to the workload growth that those programs are experiencing. And so the state's in kind of an interesting position. On the one hand, it's got receding federal support for reimbursement of services that it's providing in the health and human area, but it's also facing higher than expected cost as a consequence of expansions in program eligibility, which resulted in more folks enrolling than the state had expected. And so the state squeezed in the middle of those two effects, having to come up with the cost increases necessary to support those programs on its own. This chart summarizes the proposed budget for the 2026-27 fiscal year, which is represented by the blue bars in the bar chart, compared to the current year enacted budget, which is represented by the gray bars. The first pair of bars are the overall total state budget. So that's the state's general fund and all of its special funds. And you'll notice an increase from about $321 billion to almost $349 billion. That's roughly an 8.6% increase in the total state budget. And if one distills just the state's general fund, you see an increase of a similar percentage. This chart tracks the conditions of the state's budgetary reserve funds. And I'll start by working my way up from the bottom of this chart. So the segments of the chart that are in green, this is the safety net reserve fund. So this is a rainy day fund for the state's safety net programs. And you'll notice that reserve fund was drained entirely in 24-25. And there is no plan to replenish that fund whatsoever. So it's going to continue at a $0 balance through the next fiscal year under the governor's proposed plan. Moving up to the next segments there that are in blue, that's the public school system stabilization account, or the Proposition 98 rainy day fund. So this is the one that's probably the most significant for us here. And you'll notice that from 22-23, where there was a large balance of around $9 billion in that account, that's been drawn down to zero at 23-24. And then there's been a slight recovery for deposits into that fund, bringing it back to about 50% of that high water mark back in 22-23. This is better than was expected in the Budget Act. For 2025, where it wasn't expected to see a deposit back into that account. So this fund has seen some marginal improvement as a consequence of those higher revenues coming in that were unexpected. Moving up to the purple line segments, this is the special fund for economic uncertainty, and it's just a fancy name for the state's ending fund balance. And you can see that for 25-26, the current fiscal year, that fund is at a high water mark of a little bit more than $25 billion. And the way the governor is bridging the gap and closing the budget shortfall and funding some of this additional expenditure is by dramatically drawing that fund down to what will be its lowest level of a little bit less than $5 billion at the end of the 26-27 fiscal year. And finally, the orange segments at the top represent the budget stabilization account. This is the state's general fund rainy day fund. And that account has been drawn down over the years and sees an overall downward trend. The governor does see putting some of the excess revenues into that account, making a deposit. And I suspect that we'll see in his budget plan for balancing the out year that it will call upon these funds to balance that out. Nonetheless, at the end of the 26-27 fiscal year, the budget's plan that the governor proposes would leave total reserves of approximately $23 billion, which is about half of the high water mark for those funds just a few years ago. So I want you to keep in mind that $23 billion number, because the next chart talks about the chronic multi-year budget deficits that are expected not for the next fiscal year, not for 26, 27, but for the fiscal years thereafter, 27, 28, 28, 29, 29, 30. And the reason I share this chart is that it's very rare that the Department of Finance and the Legislative Analyst's Office are actually in alignment with each other. But this is probably one of the places where I've seen them more in alignment. And that's that both the Governor's Department of Finance and the Independent Legislative Analyst's Office agree that the state will be seeing multi-year budget deficits in those out years. And you can see that the two estimates seem to center around about $30 billion a year for each of those 3 years. And so it'll be interesting to see how the governor closes the gap for 27, 28 with only $23 billion in reserve to help do so. So it'll be interesting to watch that evolve. But that's one of the interesting places of alignment we're seeing both the administration and the independent legislative analysts. And so if one reads the governor's proposed budget plan, it seems like it's almost a placeholder, a bit incomplete. And in fact, the governor kind of admits that a little bit on page 2, where the governor says the administration intends to build on that budget proposal in May with a revised plan. So this plan isn't really a complete plan. It doesn't address how that balancing in that out year is going to occur. And so I think that this opens the door to see some significant changes between this initial proposed budget and what might materialize in May. I suspect the Department of Finance is looking for updated economic information as the year continues to evolve, and wanting to use that to incorporate that into their model for how they might be able to close that gap in the second year. Moving closer to education funding, so this chart summarizes Proposition 98 funding. The top half of the chart is all Proposition 98 programs, so that's the pre-K through 12 system as well as community colleges. The second half is the community colleges distilled, and you'll notice that there are strong increases in both of those areas because the state's revenues have come in higher. Proposition 98, when it's in test 1, is 40% of those revenues. So 40% of a larger number corresponds to a larger amount going to Proposition 98. And now turning to the community college system, there are really 2 significant proposals here amongst the ongoing adjustments totaling a little bit more than $418 million. And that's providing a 2.41% cost of living adjustment to apportionments and select categoricals, unfortunately still not including some of our large categorical programs like C, and 1.5% of enrollment growth. And so this is where that 3-year budget window discussion at the very beginning comes around full circle. The governor is proposing a 1% enrollment growth increase for the current fiscal year. So keep in mind that when the Budget Act is enacted in June, right, the entire fiscal year will have gone by, and the governor's making available additional funds to fund growth in that fiscal year, as well as an additional 0.5% for next year, bringing the aggregate to about 1.5% total. Besides those 2 major components, there are some various other smaller components. I did want to call out, and I've highlighted in red on the chart, a reduction in the classified summer assistance program and a corresponding increase for the exact same amount to the basic need centers. And that's basically a reappropriation of funds. So it's kind of taking money out of the left-hand pocket and putting it in the right-hand pocket, but the net change is 0. And then amongst the one-time investments in the community college system totaling a little bit more than $802 million, the largest component here is a repayment of the deferrals from the current fiscal year. So the budget plan for the current fiscal year was balanced by basically deferring revenue earned by districts like ours for this current fiscal year into the next fiscal year. The governor's budget plan calls for repaying that deferral in total. Another welcome addition here is the deferred maintenance program. We haven't had any deferred maintenance funding from the state for the past couple of years, so this is the first investment we've seen placed there. And then the student support block grant is some additional funding for covering shortfalls to the student-centered funding formula. Are there any questions?
I've been just playing with numbers, and so you can just be a sounding board for me, so play along.
Okay.
So our state's budget this year is about $350 billion. So Our state, if you take away the official holidays, we spend about $1 billion a day for every day of the year. That's a good way to remember it. About $1 billion a day, every day of the year except for holidays. That's almost dead on. California, now we don't determine the largest economy by the budget, but by the GDP. I know that. But California's overtaken Japan. If you guys didn't know this, we are the 4th largest economy in the world after United States, China, and Germany. We're number 4. Japan's right behind us, just right barely behind us. And then now here comes my social commentary. Elon Musk could fund the state of California with his amount he's worth as one man for more than 2 years by himself. That's how much he's worth. I don't know how that's going to work long term, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. Any of these numbers sound wrong to you? I mean, you might not know how much Elon Musk is worth, but about $800 billion is what they think, just so you know.
Yeah, I don't know Elon Musk's worth offhand. I will say, though, that that's substantially more than what I'm worth. So throw that out.
Are there any other?
There you go. Yay.
Are there any other comments or questions on this information item?
And Brandon just wanted a 5-year contract extension.
Right.
I mean, just
Right?
Yeah. I want my Musk.
I just wanted to add that we owe we're $40 trillion in debt, and it's growing every month, every year. I don't know how we're gonna pay it.
Not the state of California, that's the United States
Right.
of America, yes.
One of my students has said, "You're gonna have to pay."
And then throughout the presentation, I did have citations, and so I do provide the sources. So for those who are interested, again, Lonely Friday Night, I'm here for you. Anyway, thank you so much.
Mike, real quick, I think earlier this week, we saw something come out from the state that they're anticipating even the revenues, notwithstanding today's stock market, but that they were anticipating even better revenues coming into the May revise above what the January projections were.
Yeah, and that's been really the amazing part is coming out of COVID, the state's Department of Finance revenue models were consistently overestimating revenues. And that was rather frustrating because we were going through months and months and months of downgraded revisions to that. And now they finally got it kind of on the other foot where it is consistently under estimating revenues. And I think that's why we're seeing the short-term upgrade in economic performance being incorporated into their model to account for the economy doing better than what they had anticipated with their slowing but growing economic stand that they were taking before. So a little bit more optimism there. I think we're seeing inflation stay under control, which has been quite helpful. So a lot of good things moving forward. And I know on the national front, the job numbers came in earlier at a positive clip. So I think there's a lot of information out there that's starting to be reincorporated into the model that's producing better results. But we have seen revenues coming in better than what the models predicted nonetheless. So I think they're trying to recalibrate that.
Okay, well,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Item 14.2, President's Honor List, Fall 2025. Recognition of 2,760 students named on the Fall 2025 President's Honor Roll List for achieving 3.5 GPA or higher while completing 12 or more units. And there's a very long PDF there of all the students that made it. And I know we'd all like to congratulate these students on such hard work. Good job, students. Keep it up. Good job, teachers, for teaching them. All right. Well, no one else has a comment on the honor roll list. We'll move to item 15.1, adjournment. The next regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is scheduled for Thursday, March 12th. 2026 at 4 p.m. right here in the Temecula Valley campus. So with that, mark your calendars. If you haven't already, we'll see you in about a month. Remember, it's a short February, so it's kind of like less than a month. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Chair Ashley, I move to approve.
Chair, I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Student trustee, please vote.
Aye.
Trustees vote?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 6:33. Thank you, everyone, for coming. If I would have kept my commentary away, it would have been a minute or two shorter. Can you believe that you, well, could fund the state of California?